Welcome to the Authority File. I'm Bill Mickey, your host and the editorial director at Choice. Before I introduce this episode, I have some exciting news for you Authority File listeners. We have a new podcast coming. It's called Patron Driven, and it's a narrative-style podcast that brings you crowdsourced library stories where the personal meets the professional. Season 1 is a 5-part series that follows 4 library staff through the destruction of the Lone Star College Kingwood Library after Hurricane Harvey and the 2 years it took to rebuild. Patron Driven debuts June 22nd wherever you get your podcasts. You can visit our website, choice360.org, and click on the librarianship drop-down to sign up for our newsletters and to find bonus and teaser content for the new program. Okay, so back to the Authority File. In this series, we've been talking about open access monographs. More specifically, I'll be joined by 2 guests from MIT Press, which, thanks to an $850,000 grant from the Arcadia Fund, is embarking on a 3-year project to develop a financial framework and sustainable business plan for publishing OA monographs. A business plan that virtually any university press can implement. If the University Press mission is to distribute knowledge and research as broadly as possible, then many in the market are increasingly looking to open access as a way to support that mission to its fullest. Print monograph unit sales have plummeted in the last 20 years, clearly impeding that mission and causing presses to be more dependent on subsidies or other subventions, as well as trade and journal-based editorial strategies to remain viable. Joining me are Terry Ehling, Director of Strategic Initiatives at MIT Press, and Raym Crow, a Senior Consultant at SPARC, who is working with MIT Press on its OA Publishing Model Initiative. In this final episode of our 4-part series, we actually go out on a limb and predict the future of OA monograph publishing and how open access monographs could change the dynamic between the press and its institution and the competitive landscape overall. So, because OA is inherently digital, does it need to take into account all of the capabilities that medium entails? Or we're not just thinking of replicating print in an OA world, are we?
No, we hope not. But at this point, no one has agreed yet on what an optimal reader experience might be. There are several, particularly Mellon-funded programs that are looking into that right now. But UX UI praxis is still informed by the physical representation of the book. On the PubPub platform that was developed here at MIT, for instance, we're able to support real-time collaboration on an HTML OA based work. But we're planning to deliver PDFs, for instance, which are going to look like the printed book, and that will be on our own platform.
Okay. And then just looking ahead, when you complete your study and hopefully, publish a shareable model, I mean, what do you hope the impact will be? If all things in a perfect world, how will this potentially change the market?
Yeah. Ideally, the model would be durable enough and attractive enough to a 2-sided market, meaning libraries and publishers. For many, perhaps most, university presses and not-for-profit publishers to flip their scholarly book programs to OA. And Raym, do you have anything to add to that as well?
Just that successful engender confidence. I mean, if there are 1 or 2 presses are able to adopt models that that work financially, then other presses that have different risk profiles and maybe aren't as deeply funded will also be willing to try. And also, various models get socialized with the market. They become easier, less costly to implement because the libraries recognize them and the presses recognize them, and so it becomes the cost of coordinating them or administering them goes down.
Yep. So Terry, you mentioned the word flip. I mean, is this something that is this a model that would become the primary model for some publishers, or would it sort of live alongside what might be considered their legacy kind of publishing operation?
Oh, I think things will be pluralistic for a while.
Yeah. Okay.
As far as the future of OA monograph publishing, I think we're all looking forward to finding out what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And Raym, you had some comments on the future as well.
Yeah, that would be good to hear.
Well, I mean, I agree that it's going to be a pluralistic market. I mean, it's similar to with journals. You're not going to see one model that just blots out everything else because there's just too much variety in terms of both on the publisher side and on the market side, but certainly on the publisher side in terms of expectations, in terms of revenue needs and their structure. So you're going to see multiple models and they get the lines with risk tolerance and all sorts of other things.
Yep. And then in terms of sort of the competitive dynamic between university presses, such as it is, I guess, how might OA kind of change that or alter all that?
Raym, you want to jump in here?
That's interesting.
My comment was good question with an ellipsis.
Well, it'd be great to say, okay, the model is going to be so compelling that just all attention is focused on MIT Press, but that's not the objective, certainly. We're assuming that we're using the same editorial standards and processes as conventional monographs and using standard site licenses. I mean, our standard use licenses. The press will be able to retain its existing competitive position vis-a-vis other presses. It's not seeking this as primarily for competitive advantage. It's seeking this for increase access and equity. So the goal is not to dominate the market. The goal is to come up with a model that allows the press to continue its current operations, editorial operations, and continue to be self-sustaining.
Okay, so in terms of, for example, the sort of just choices that an author goes through in sort of selecting where he or she may want to publish, would that change at all, or?
It could. I mean, some authors, particularly in STEM fields, are very interested in being OA. They have experience as journal publishers, so they're already deeply embedded in the OA, the culture of OA publishing. So on the monograph side, yes. Whereas historians and those working in traditional humanities fields, I think, are a little more circumspect.
Right. Okay. And then how about, sort of extending that question in terms of dynamics? How might, an established OA model change the dynamic between the university press and its institution?
Yeah, that's another good question. For the better, we hope. Within the last couple of years, many what we call R1, high intensity research institutions, universities have promulgated and codified a set of OA principles and recommendations that are meant to openly generate and disseminate and preserve knowledge, and to work with others to bring this knowledge to bear on the world's great challenges. MIT Press's efforts through this Arcadia funded program is, in a sense, it's our way of proactively supporting MIT's commitment to advancing the causes of open knowledge and open education. So we've been well aligned, and we've been working in an OA capacity, the press itself, since the mid '90s. We were one of the first, probably the first publisher to put the full text of one of our kind of signature trade books online in HTML. This was HTML 1.0 back in the day in 1995. So, and we were one of I think the only university press to sign the Budapest Open Access Initiative, that manifesto back in 2001, 2002. So culturally, we've been inclined in this direction for quite a while.
Excellent. Okay. Well, Terry and Raym, thank you so much for joining us on the program. It was really great speaking with both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We just heard from Terry Ehling, Director of Strategic Initiatives at MIT Press, and Raym Crow, a Senior Consultant at SPARC, who is working with MIT Press on its OA Monograph Publishing Initiative. This 4-part series is brought to you by MIT Press. If you like what you hear, rate us or give us a review on your podcast platform of choice, and if there's a topic you'd like us to cover, drop me a line. I'm at bmickey@ala-choice.org. As always, sponsorship and advertising for the Authority File podcast are handled by Choice's advertising manager, Pam Marino, and all of our episodes are produced by Choice's digital media specialist, Mark Dirks, and digital media assistant, Sabrina Kofer. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.